Good evening and welcome to BATV News. I'm Andrew Laidley. A report out of London is raising serious concerns about Digicel's financial future. US credit research firm CreditSights is urging holders of Digicel stock to sell some of their holdings. One of CreditSights' analysts made the case to stockholders in a presentation titled "Should I Stay or Should I Go Now?" Digicel has some 14 million subscribers in 32 countries, but the analyst says the company is creaking under $6.2 billion in debt. That's 6 times their earnings. He says the debt is unsustainable, and he attributes this in part to declining revenues from mobile calls and the ongoing need to pump cash into its fiber network. Additionally, Digicel's large debt is in US dollars, but the company is trying to pay them off in weakening currencies from Jamaica, Haiti, and Papua New Guinea. However, Digicel is rejecting the report. In a brief statement, the company says it fundamentally disagrees with the report, noting that it has a positive outlook. Digicel says it will not be commenting on its internal plans, which reportedly includes a massive cost-cutting operation. Last October, Digicel failed in its attempt to launch an initial public offering (IPO) on the New York Stock Exchange. Digicel CEO Dennis O'Brien told BATV News at the time that volatility in the global markets was to blame. Prime Minister Andrew Holness is to begin holding regular press conferences with the media within the next 3 months. That's according to the Office of the Prime Minister, which was reporting today to a letter from the Press Association of Jamaica, PAJ. The PAJ wrote to Prime Minister Holness on Friday, urging him to have such press briefings for the public's benefit. Anthony Morgan reports.
The Prime Minister's Press Secretary Naomi Francis is responding to concerns highlighted by PAJ President Dion Jackson Miller over the weekend. Francis told the Gleaner Online today that Prime Minister Holness has a comprehensive communication strategy, which includes a 1-year plan that features scheduled press conferences. She says the first 9 months in office were to get things prepared. PAJ President Dion Jackson Miller says she welcomes the commitment by the Office of the Prime Minister to introduce regularly scheduled press conferences. In the letter to the Prime Minister, the PAJ expressed concerns over media access to the ministers of government and particularly Prime Minister Holness. The PAJ President says although the Prime Minister has given several interviews to local media houses since assuming office, including one to her and the RJR Communications Group for which she works, they excluded many reporters and media houses and failed to provide the kind of broad-based access to media which the press conferences should address.
What we're calling for from the PAJ is a regular scheduled briefing at which the Prime Minister will come and address reporters, a wide range of reporters from different media houses on a wide range of issues, where reporters can come and ask questions without any restriction for say an hour, 2 hours, whatever is the time frame that is scheduled. And we're asking that this is something that is scheduled into the Prime Minister's timetable on an ongoing basis.
BATV also requested an interview with Prime Minister Holness some months ago. OPM initially agreed to the interview but later asked for it to be postponed. However, the rescheduled date is yet to be set. Mrs. Jackson Miller says the press conferences being requested used to happen with past administrations.
This is something, for instance, that used to happen in the days of former Prime Minister P.J. Patterson. We had a difficulty during the last administration. Mr. Simpson Miller did not hold these kinds of briefings. We continually called for them from the PAJ.
For BATV News, I'm Anthony Morgan.
Director of Marine Wharves at the Jamaica Customs Agency, Kevin Carter, says updates to the Asicuda World system were behind the technical failures experienced by users recently. This comes after reports of frustration by the Customs Brokers and Freight Forwarders Association of Jamaica, CBFFAJ, with the system. Mr. Carter, was a guest on the last episode of BATV's On Point. Here's more.
The Director of Marine Wharves says the system is usually updated each time an issue is resolved. He says the agency is aware of the latest problems identified by the customs brokers.
Well, in recent times, just about the last 2 weeks, I would say, they were uploading some updates and somehow that sort of threw the system into a tailspin. So last week, Friday, we had frequent interruptions We discussed with the CIO and the rest of the ASCODA team, and they are taking steps to resolve the matter.
President of the CBFFA, Marcia Bent, says the delay in the system resulted in losses for importers.
As good custom brokers, we speak up for our clients, and they are facing storage charges. In addition to that, they're facing demurrage charges, and if we are looking at a refrigerated container, there's also plug-in charges, which is coming from the ports. Now, the demurrage charges range from like $70 to as much as $125 per container per day, and that's US.
Mr. Carter says the customs agency is in discussions with brokers over compensation.
I know Ms. Bent has been asking for certain reprieve as it relates to charges that may have been incurred as a result of delays associated maybe with system errors with ASCODA or other issues relating to the port. I know we're in dialogue in that regard with the port. We recognize the importance of efficiency, and it's not our desire to stall the process of efficiency.
For BATV News, I'm Anthony Morgan.
Meanwhile, the ports are expecting an increase in barrels this Christmas compared to last year. Here again is Anthony Morgan.
Director of Marine Wharves at Customs Kevin Carter says the agency has already seen a 10% increase in barrels since the previous month.
Based on the trend, we're expecting more volume. And already in November, I'm seeing 10% increase in barrels over the previous year and as well year to date. There's a 10% increase. 2
weeks to go before Christmas.
So the entire berths are abuzz with activities.
The increase in barrels means more business for customs brokers. President of the Customs Brokers and Freight Forwarders Association of Jamaica, CBFFA, Marcia Bent, says they are experiencing a significant increase in the volume of work for this festive period.
I'm not sure if it is that the workload has started coming in earlier than it would normally come in over the last couple of years. But at this point, we have seen a significant increase in activities.
Impact after $600 million debushing.
Or maybe the growth in the economy, 2%, is that the 1.5 being implemented, people have more disposable income?
Well, I'm not sure where that is coming from, but at this point, I can say that, yes, there is some increased activities going on.
In the meantime, the director says the JCA has ramped up security at the ports to prevent smuggling.
This time of year, we are very much alert. We have a border protection team, contraband enforcement team. We have our officers on the ground, and therefore we are fully aware of some of the items that might be smuggled during this time, But we continue to ramp up our protection of the border. This time of year, we're very alert, far more alert than, because we know that this time, in the excitement, people tend to want to abuse certain situations. So we are very, very much alert.
For BATV News, I'm Anthony Morgan.
When we come back, we'll tell you how much Jamaica has earned from tourism so far this year. Welcome back. Jamaica has earned more than $2 billion from tourism so far this year. Tourism Minister Ed Bartlett says the money came from more than 3 million visitors to the island. Meanwhile, the minister says the Tourism Service Excellence Program, TSEP, which recognizes and rewards outstanding workers in the sector, will return next year. The award ceremony is held in association with the Tourism Product Development Company, TPDCO. It will be staged on March 4 at the Hyatt Ziva Rose Hall in Montego Bay. Minister Bartlett says TSEP has been revamped and forms a strategic marketing effort to highlight Jamaica's outstanding service standards. He was speaking at the launch of the 2016-2017 winter tourist season at Sangster International Airport in Montego Bay last week. Consultant General Manager at the Jamaica Exporters Association, JEA, Sandra Glasgow, says Jamaica will be exporting more come next year. Here's more. Sandra Glasgow says the JEA's success in 2017 will come from forging the right partnerships, an initiative she says will assist the government's 5-4 agenda.
I think our focus next year is going to be on the strategic partnerships that we can forge to help Jamaica advance economically and to improve our export performance. We are, in fact, a signatory to the Economic Growth Council's strategic document, and we are very keen on working with that group to achieve the target of Jamaica having 5% growth in the next 4 years.
She says the association has already implemented initiatives to help members boost production.
We have been working on some initiatives to help some of our fledgling exporters. One of them is our Export Innovation Program. And we hope to be rolling that out in 2017. We already have a number of companies that have signed on to participate.
Ms. Glasgow says the JEA plans to roll out its full initiative to improve exports early next year.
It will be a program that will really mentor these companies, have them sharing with each other, sort of peer mentorship as well, and addressing some of the real issues around quality management, around logistics, around finding new markets, around effective and strategic marketing. So that is also one of the programs you can look forward to, and we are in discussions with some partners to make it happen. So I expect that early in the new year you'll hear more about that. I don't want to reveal too much right now.
For BATV News, I'm Andrew Laidley. Kingston's new mayor Delroy Williams says he will be paying more attention to the physical development of the city. It's one of the commitments he made during his swearing-in. More in this report. Mayor Delroy Williams is vowing to make infrastructural development the focal point of his administration's work.
Development must be in keeping with the principles of practice of good town and country planning. The management and enforcement of planning, development, and building control in the city will take center stage in our administration of the municipal corporation.
He says developing the city's infrastructure is a major step towards economic growth.
We must embark on a comprehensive infrastructural program to lay the groundwork for the economic success of the city. The Equalization Fund must be directed to this end.
Mr. Williams says he will ensure that money allocated to government agencies is used for infrastructural development, noting that it is a part of their budget.
The budgets of many of our agencies must be directed to infrastructural improvements, must be tied into the growth agenda of the government. We must build a vibrant economy, and the municipal corporation will play our role. We will eliminate waste and inefficiencies and direct the benefits from that to improving the infrastructure of the city.
For BATV News, I'm Andrew Laidley. Stay with us. Regional and international news are next. Welcome back. Time now for regional and international news. The World Bank says a coalition of more than 60 donor and borrower governments has agreed to ratchet up the fight against extreme poverty in the Caribbean and other places. They have committed $75 billion through the International Development Association, IDA. The IDA is the World Bank's fund for the poorest countries. The World Bank says the funding will enable IDA to dramatically scale up development interventions to tackle conflict, fragility and violence, forced displacement, climate change, and gender inequality. The funding will also address jobs and economic transformation. The World Bank says the financing period, which runs from 2017 to 2020, is expected to support essential health and nutrition services for up to 400 million people. It's also expected to provide access to cleaner water for up to 45 million people, provide financial services for 4 to 6 million people, and enable safe childbirth for up to 11 million women. Additionally, the contributions will help to train up to 10 million teachers, which will benefit over 300 million children. A court in France today found the chief of the International Monetary Fund, IMF, Christine Lagarde, guilty of negligence. However, the judges have decided to not punish Ms. Lagarde. Leading up to today's verdict, the IMF boss was confident she had done nothing wrong. Here's more.
At the start of the week-long trial, Christine Lagarde had looked relaxed as she arrived in court in Paris. Over the next few days, she was grilled by a panel of judges and lawmakers over her role in a $300 million state payout to French business tycoon Bernard Tapie in 2008. At the time, Lagarde was France's finance minister under the then president Nicolas Sarkozy, who was close to Tapie. Accused of negligence and a misuse of public funds, Lagarde denied the claims and chose to defend herself alongside her lawyers.
She is very determined. Let me remind you that she herself asked the IMF board to lift her immunity because she wanted to be here and stand in front of the judges to face all the accusations against her, step by step.
The trial heard evidence from witnesses, including several former French ministers. This case dates back to the 1990s when the French businessman Bernard Tapie sold his stake in the Adidas sportswear company to the Crédit Lyonnais Bank. Now, the bank then sold Tapie's stake for a much higher price. That infuriated the tycoon, who said he had been defrauded. Now, because the Crédit Lyonnais Bank was owned by the French state at the time, Tapie decided to sue the state for compensation. Judges examined why Lagarde took the unusual decision to send the case to an arbitration panel rather than a regular court.
Arbitration is something that's usually done in business law, also in public affairs. It's not illegal, but it's something that you don't do often in France, and definitely not if you're a minister. It is legal, but is rarely done, and public opinion is not ready for that.
The IMF chief said she acted in good faith to end a long legal row. The prosecutor said he's against convicting Lagarde, saying the evidence to support the negligence charge was too weak.
A group of architects has come together to find a solution to the rising cost of housing in Berlin. The German capital has long been regarded as having some of the cheapest property prices in any major European capital. More in this Al Jazeera report.
It's a world city that attracts ever more people each year. But while there's traditionally plenty to do in Berlin, there are not plenty of places to live in. But now, in one area along the river Spree, there may be a solution, designed by architects who funded the development themselves. The Spreefeld complex is for residents for whom collective ownership is the key. Here, Robin and 20 others live in an 800 square metre apartment. There are public spaces like the kitchen and living rooms, but crucially, Robin says, each has their own private spaces too.
I think the solution we found with a lot of shared spaces, but also the private rooms, is a perfect mixture. I think this could work for a lot of people here. And then when friends of mine visit me regularly, then after a while, or even my parents, after a while, they say, oh, it's actually a good idea. Yeah, we should consider that for ourselves.
The question must be whether living in a commune like this is a practical solution to the affordable housing crisis. Here at the Spreeweg, they clearly think the answer is yes. But what about the rest of the city, let alone the rest of the country? A look at the figures shows the scale of the problem. In the last 3 years for which we have figures, the median asking rent in Berlin rose by almost 20%. The average rent per square metre was just over $9.50, nearly a third higher than the national average, while the vacancy rate in apartment buildings fell to just 1.5%, all at a time when 58% of households are now occupied by single people, prompting the question, how do you design new residential complexes where both space and funding are at a premium? I put that to the man who helped design the Spreefeld project.
We as architects should have a lot of space to make interesting architecture that can be affordable, not only through the value of the property or the money it costs, but also through new models, how people live together. So there has to be a lot of inventions that go beyond the question of space.
In recent months, the Berlin authorities have tried to ease the housing crisis, bringing in new rules to prevent owners letting their property out on a short-term basis to wealthy tourists, a concept that is strictly outlawed in the Spreefeld complex. Here they think their model works, and by extension might offer the city, and perhaps the country, a new way forward. Dominic Kane, Al Jazeera, Berlin.
Apple has launched a legal challenge to a record $14 billion EU tax demand. They're arguing that EU regulators ignored tax experts and corporate law and deliberately picked a method to maximize the penalty. Sonia Legg reports.
First to appeal against the Apple tax demand was the Irish government, arguing the EU has no right to interfere with national sovereignty. Next up was the tech giant itself. Its challenge based on claims EU regulators ignored tax experts and corporate law.
The most bizarre scenario where the beneficiaries of a $13 billion reward and the company that's meant to be paying it will appear on the same side to appeal against that very motion or ruling.
Ireland is home to Apple's European headquarters, and the country's tax treatment has allowed it to avoid significant payments. Filings show over the past 10 years it's paid tax at a rate of 3.8% on $200 billion of overseas profits. That's a fraction of the rate in countries where Apple's products are designed, made and sold. The Commission says that amounts to illegal state aid and has ordered it to pay $13.8 billion to Ireland.
Plenty of companies use the same sort of tactics to consolidate their tax and to reduce the tax within the law to the minimum that they can get away with paying. There's nothing wrong with that per se. You may take a moral stance against it, but it's all within tax law.
The appeal will be heard in Europe's second highest court, and Apple also argues it's been singled out because of its success. They have the support of some US lawmakers, and they're hoping a new President Trump may help by bringing in tax reforms.
Stay with us. Talking Stocks comes up next. Welcome back. It's time now for Talking Stocks. 36 stocks traded today, of which 23 advanced, 8 declined, and 5 traded firm. The main JSE index advanced by 2,066 points to close at 187,008 points. The junior index declined by 43 points to close at 2,523 points. Over 15 million units traded, valued at more than $373 million on the Jamaican dollar market. Grace Kennedy accounted for nearly half of the market volume, with over $7.7 million units changing hands. Lasco Manufacturing was second with over 4.5 million units trading. And Mayberry Investments accounted for 733,000 units, amounting to 4% of the market volume. Cargo Handlers was the top advancer, up $2.70 to close at $16, followed by Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances, up by almost $1.91 to close at $13, and Scotia Investments up $4.34 to close at $33.49. The main decliners were Cable and Wireless Jamaica down 8 cents to close at 82 cents, followed by Mayberry Investments losing 38 cents to close at $4.83, and Iron Rock Insurance Company down 14 cents to close at $4.01. In foreign exchange trading, the US ended the day trading at $128.61 today, while the Canadian sold for $96.31. The British pound went for $159.60 on average. And that's all the news we have for this evening, but before we go, a recap of our top story. A report out of London is raising serious concerns that Digicel's financial future may be hanging in the balance. Thanks for watching. For more content, visit our website at batvja.com. I'm Andrew Laidley. Pleasant viewing.